Okay, this is the second video. The first one was on scan plans, ES Beam tool, and scan plan generation. This one is specifically about weld logging and tracking and report generation. This is a sheet I made probably, I think, 3 or 4 years ago at this point, and I've just recycled this over a number of jobs, changed it, updated it, made slight modifications, but I am currently ditching this for a database, and we've also purchased inspectionware to interface with that database so that we don't have to jump through multiple softwares to get one job done. It's pretty annoying. There's no one solution for anything we do. We already have a software for scan plans, we have a software for evaluation, and then we have a software for reporting and report generation, and we're hoping to drop down to 2, ES Beam tool and inspectionware, and inspectionware will interface with the database. That's our hope, that's our goal, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, this is something I made, and it is to produce this. This would be the final package. This is the report that I turn in. I think it's generally acceptable. This has first a weld report. This is the sheet with just some information specifically to that weld, and then the results, if it's accepted or rejected. And one thing I've had to incorporate into this is everything that's not incorporated into the Olympus auto-generated report. So here I have my cal blocks. I have my calibration due date, which Olympus took out of their software, which hurts. I know there was a thing about the frequency of calibration and when the due date was. It's really sad. I wish they could have put something else in there, like a frequency button as well as a date calibrated button. So now I have to incorporate extra stuff into my report, my weld report that's not captured in my indication report. So this would be my indication report. This is the auto-generated report from Olympus with some modifications, specifically the scan files. I put that in there. So here I cover my equipment settings, and this should cover me on most things, most customers. And then I have this awful indication requirement that X-ray doesn't have. X-ray is allowed to say, like, yeah, there was porosity in it. They don't have to call it out like we do. We have much more strict reporting criteria. But so I just go through. This is the normal indication stuff. Nothing big, nothing special. And then I usually do my scan plan. I include my scan plan so as it changes, everything's current and up to date. This is an older format of scan plan. I usually like to do this well was pretty goofy, so I put some stuff in there like inspection zones, and false indications. There's the inspection zone. That's a irrelevant indication. Here's a false reject warning. This looks like a lack of fusion, but it's not. It's just a reflection off the counter bore. Most people would say, oh, don't make sure you're not hitting the counter bore, but I like to have a drift or a plus or minus to account for cap widths and other things. So I say, hit it with more, and then just know what you're doing and ignore the false indication. And then here, this was the precursor to what you just saw in the last video. This was my first attempt at that before I automated it. And yeah, so to get it to this point, we have to do some things. And so here, generally, I'll unhide this so we could see it. Generally, we get a list of welds on the larger projects. We'll get a list of welds that we might do. This is every weld that they have to do, that they'll have to make. And then we either have a percentage of this, or we're going to do 100%, whatever it may be. So I get that list of welds, I import it, and then usually I modify it in some way, and then I can go ahead and look those welds up. So we'll do SGG 035, and I hit this search weld, and then we'll look at that database. It will bring in all this information. So here's a bunch of stuff I don't have to write. It's a 2-inch weld. That's the wall thickness, but actually I don't want to do the 2-inch because I don't actually have a scan plan for it. We'll do SGG 012, search that. Still a 2-inch. Search that. Okay, here's a 16-inch. It's that's not the schedule, that's the thickness. But so it automatically pulled out the scan plan I need, and it pulled out the calibration block based on that scan plan. So this is ready to go. The only thing I have to do is say what kind of weld it was. So a lot of times we do a post weld heat treat and a post weld heat treat. The post weld heat treat is the final. The pre is to make sure they're not wasting their time. Sometimes we do just a root fill. But the production, that would be the final weld. It's all done. So what I do is I go ahead and I hit this log and mod. Remember, we're SGG013. So I can log that. And it brings me over to this page where I modify what I have. And if we go here, this is the production log. And this is indexing my reports over here. And as you can see, here's SGG013. This is the file we just created. And there is a duplicate up here. That's okay. Let's say this is a pre-heat treat route. You know what I mean? So now I have one weld logged multiple times. That's okay. They're going to get individual reports. But yeah, this is where I keep all my information on the weld. From this sheet, if there's something I don't have, I can enter it in over here, SGJ, whatever. We could just make this up. I guess this is a lookup number or something. I don't know. I don't know why that's not going in. Maybe I'm protected. Yeah, I'm protected. Okay. So I can log this. We can go back to the production log. There's the one I just logged. This came in wrong. But there it is, SGJ, and a bunch of gibberish I just typed in. So I can go, so now we're on 7. When I hit that button, it brings me over to this sheet at the current record, but we were at 6 was our real one. And there it is, SGG013. So I have some things to fill out here, saying that everything was acceptable, my calibration checks passed and everything. And then I have this spot here. Accepted, number of indications 12. I just made that up. And I have a notes, all good. So now I can hit this button here. It's going to pop up 2 folders for me. I have my one folder and my other folder. And it opened this one wrong, but it's supposed to go to SD user data, right from my MX, my MX2. And then over here, it brought me to my folder tree, which here's the sheet we're working out of. And whenever I log a weld, it makes in the report file, the REPT, it makes me a folder. Here's the 06, that's our index number. It's a production weld, it's SGG013. There it is. It made this SD folder, which is for my scan data. That's why it opened up this one over here. And we're just going to copy that over. And it also made a report file for me with nothing in it at this point. So it's logging, it's building me a folder tree for me to log my data. That's really important. A lot of these projects, you get up into the hundreds of welds, and it becomes very difficult to maintain consistency in logging these files. So this just takes care of a lot of background work for me automatically without spending any of my time doing anything. So at this point, we have we moved our data over. I can open the scan plan. Oh no, I can't. There's a bug there. That's fine. This is an example. This is the one I share with other inspectors. A lot of people I've run into are trying to do this same thing, and they're just they buy these Excel books and stuff, and so I send them this stuff. I've shared this with a number of people at this point. But so if I go into my scan data, I got to do an indication report. Usually right after I move it, I evaluate it for the final time. And this is just bogus data. I don't know what this is exactly. It's from a totally different thing. But I'll just do a little fake indication report here. We'll get this guy. This is actually a root reflector in my position's off. Oh yeah, that's annoying. As soon as I move the position, it changes everything. I've always hated that. But anyways, so yeah, so I'd go ahead and box this indication in, say what it is. Usually on a real indication, I'd go to the I forget what it is, but it has the ray tracing in it. The ray tracing is really nice. The customer loves that. They can understand what they're looking at. The only thing I'd do differently is the ray tracing is set up for the inspector. It has the distance from the probe, but really I'd want it distance from center line and depth. Just a repair document, so they can go in and cut that out, or they could at least know where it was. But in this case, it's a little bit, I had to say, oh, those numbers are BS, like don't worry about those, and but yeah, so then I'd go to my measurements indication table, I'd add it, I'd make a comment, whatever. Yeah, I want to save changes. And then here's another annoyance of mine. So I go to report, I go to format, and I always have to include the probe every time. Even when it doesn't auto detect the probe, usually I go in there and paste it in there anyways. But at least there's a spot for the probe, the serial numbers. So that's annoying. I wish I could save defaults. Same with my gates. That's the worst, and ranges and everything. So actually, yeah, we'll do a gate. So if I move this, I'm moving in 100,000ths increments, which isn't bad. I think the range defaults to a 1/2 inch. I never ever move the gate in or the range in 1/2 inch increments. It's like crazy. I mean, and so usually when I start a setup file, I open a setup file, I have to go back through and change, do this little, whatever it is. I don't know how to do it on here, but, right there. You have to go back and change this. This isn't too bad, but it's nasty when you have to hold down and it pops up and all that stuff. It's very annoying, especially for something that, like, if I'm on a thin weld, I'm not going to be moving my gates by 1/4 or 1/2 or it's just totally absurd. But anyways, but yeah, so now I'm ready to make my report, and we'll go to preview. And this is a trick I do. I just copy it right out of here. I could save it as some sort of crappy HTML. I think it prints to a PDF, I believe. But and usually I open up a new Word document and I paste it in. And here we are. I have a 4K screen on here. So whenever I do this, I have to go in and change the resolution. Otherwise it crops out really just goofy. Like it didn't even crop out to all the way to the left here. It's just really, so I had to go change the screen resolution and then do this. And it's like that. I believe it's like that all the way up to 1080p. So I had to remember to do that, or else I'm remaking a bunch of stuff. I come in here, I do my format, or where is it, my page layout, and I have to make my margins a certain way. I think I have to make them narrow, and yeah, everything will come out okay, decent enough. And actually on a different one I made, in my modify, I have a make indication report. So now at this point, I'm popping out information. These are supposed to be tables. I don't know why they're not. Oh, looks like we have a bug. Let's go back one. Make indication report. And it pops out stuff I need. And here, this is a big one. This final thing, I do not have it dating yet, but yeah. And usually it brings in a signature, but it had trouble with that too. Again, these are no longer in use, but when I do run them, they do work. But that will bring in information that I want to incorporate into the weld report, specifically project information. Yeah, so anyways, I got my information there, and I close it. I always want to save back to the data file because I want to record the information the defects and the stuff that I've determined. Now here's the trick though. If I was to make a new folder and just title it something long, take out special characters. Let me get this copy. I'm going to copy this data and I'm going to paste that. And I'm going to title this something long too. And I don't think we're absurdly long here. I do have like a folder tree, and then there's my data. This might be absurdly long, but we'll even take some of that out. And I go to save this data after I've done something. I think I'm trying to make it save. Yes. Okay. And exit. Do you want to save back? Yes. Do you want to overwrite? Yes. And then, oh, my file path is too long. We are limited to, I believe it's like, I don't know, I think it's 120 characters. I can't remember. But there's a limit on the file path. And it's beyond the limit of Windows. Windows allows like 225 characters for the entire file path, and Olympus does like, it's like a half of that, maybe even less. So I can't actually, some of these I've saved, I can't actually save my indication report. That's why this is REPT instead of report, and that's why this is SD instead of scan data, because I need to be able to save my information back onto the file. So that's just an annoyance, but something I've overcome through workarounds and stuff like that. But anyways, So we have our, where'd it go? We have our report. I usually save the Word document in that folder. We'll go to share, because this is a folder for reports that I share. Go to report gen, go to REPT, and I think we're at 6. And I save a Word document file outside, and then I do this. I go to save. After I've modified it a little bit, added those probes in, and I go to save as REPT or RPT, and I would make this 2 space, and then I don't really care about the naming, but I change it to a PDF, and then there's my final inspection document. Oh, here's why I bring that thing in. So this came in a little odd. Let me see if there's a better one. This one. No, let's try. No, those two are different. But this is how it generally comes in. It's better than this, I'll give you that. But as I type here, this is all like junked up. We got this underline thing that keeps going. It's very cruddy, and then so I could like delete this back. And granted, this isn't formatted right, but I'm telling you, this thing's all junked up. These tables are terrible to work with. I've never quite figured them out. I hate them. I don't like the HTML document. It looks nice in HTML, but it fails whenever you print it out or do anything else with it. So I don't like that. I did see on Setup Builder, which I don't like Setup Builder either, but on Setup Builder, you did have the option to print to Word, and that was the best I've seen. I haven't seen any other phased array manufacturer print anything to Word, so I loved that. I thought that was great, but it was only on Setup Builder. But anyways, moving forward, so we just did our indication report, and we told it the number of accepted and the number of indications. That's all filled out. So now I can hit update and report. Yes, I want to make my report. I want it to update. So it went through, it set that page right, and it came back here and pasted in the new data over the old data. So now if I go here somewhere, it's going to say accepted, and the number of indications. So now in the report, I'm ready to go. It's updated the information. I can go and print off any report I want. So here's an older report. This is not filled out. This is, or we'll go to 7, that one I junked in there. So this is that fake one I put in. It's missing some blanks, so it highlights red. Here, there's a button. I can hit this DWG button, and it would open an isometric drawing. I'd snip a piece out where the weld was. I'd move these lines over it. I'd put the direction, and I'd say which side's 270, which side's 90, and then I'd hit this do report. And when I do this, it's going to go ahead and take all this information and pop out a report. And it looks like it's chugging down a little bit. I think the recording's holding it back. But so now I hit this open file. Here's my files. There's the one we made, that report we made. I have my weld report. This is what I generally give to the client. Usually they don't want that long document. They hate that. They don't understand any of it. And all they want is a piece of paper that says that it's good or bad. Of course, we do a submission of the entire report, but they really don't like the documentation on phased array. They don't care. Somebody cares, but they don't. They're not the people that you interface with. So here's all my files. There's the weld report, the inspection report, and then there's this, it brought over my scan plan automatically based on its size and schedule and all that stuff in the system, everything that I needed to do. So that's what it does there. Now, it used to, I don't know why it's not working, but there is a program that I call out in a macro to open the command line and combine these all into one PDF. And then there's usually a fourth document down here. So it does all that automatically. So I got to the final report with entering like 3 or 4 pieces of data. It was very easy. You know, the longest thing there was doing the indication report, but really that can't get any simpler than it is. I'm hoping to use InspectionWare to not have to go into this and then a report, indication report software, but just directly interface with the indication report software. I think I could do that. It's a very versatile program. I don't think that would be out of the way for it. So that's what I'm hoping to mesh those two up. A lot of people would think this is over the top looking at it. But like I've said, I've met a lot of people that are doing the same thing and trying to get this to the same level that I've got it to here. This is in a folder called Share because I hand this out to people because they're working on the same thing I've done here. The other thing that's really big about this is making these files for me. You know, when you do multiple offsets and multiple scan files per weld, things get messy really quick. So this really helps me keep track of that. And then the other side too is it's doing some background tasks for me, like, oh, not this one. Where's that at? I think it was in 3. No, I'm looking for that original document I showed you. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. It's if we go over to 6 here. So if you remember, we put these 3 scan files in here. And if I go over to report, nope, not that one. If I go over to this master report, this overview report, it went over and found my scan data, my OPD files. So this is stuff I don't have to type in, you know, that people would say is required or is good practice. So it's taking care of a lot of the background tasks that just really weigh me down. This is something I can mess up. If I'm doing 50 welds, I'm going to forget to do this. Or I'm going to mess up the file name, do a typo, and then I have to do an edit, and then I have to go through all these documents to make this thing right. And it's a really big pain in the butt. So this is what I've done to get away from that. I am ditching this. It's not consistent enough, and it only works on big projects after I modify them. So that's why I'm going towards the database to do this same thing, have multiple formats and outputs while still logging my information and hopefully getting away from all this modification I have to do. One more quick thing to show you. This became big. This is more something that you have to do with the bigger outfits. So they, you know, your corporate people like Shell and the larger outfits, they want stuff like this. Okay, so yeah, here it is. This is a daily report. So I'd come in, I'd do a couple welds, and when I leave, they want a report of what was done, how long I was there, the number of accepted, the number of rejected. This is everybody's doing this. They want this immediate turnaround of information. You know, a lot of times I'll leave without doing the indication reports just yet, but I've accepted the welds or whatever. You know, I might have a level 3 reviewing it, so there's a little bit of a time gap. But they want this every time I enter and exit the site. And that's so here we're at the 11/19/2017. I did these welds, so I did 4 welds. 1 was accepted, 2 were rejected. I don't know why this one's not filled out. This is sample data. You know, it's basic information: weld, line, scan plan, number of indications, accepted, rejected. I guess you do have to fill out the report to get this number of indications. And then I can go to the next day. I can get that one's up. Make ready. And then here I have on 11/19/2017, 2 welds done, you know, accepted, rejected, 1 accepted, 0 rejected, you know, and then this is a report that's ready to go. Again, I don't have to fill it out. There's not going to be a typo. Nobody's going to yell at me. So that's what I got going on here. I did do some timesheet stuff too. This is pretty company specific stuff. This is something we have to sign to bill. It's very company specific. But yeah, that's what I'm rocking with, and hopefully I'll get the database video up pretty soon. Database, I'm not done making it, so it will go up when I'm done with the database. But yeah, all right, thanks for watching.